Welcome everybody back to our YouTube channel. This is the Appian Community YouTube channel where every week we release new stuff for you so we can learn more about the product and get really deep into what's interesting. So I'm Kate Bonifaz, product evangelist here at Appian, and I am excited to bring one of our most exciting live streams, I think, this year because I get to bring on a lot of my friends and we get to talk about the year in review. So, without further ado, I am going to bring out my very special guests, Pete, Esteban, Jacob, Alex, and Philip. Welcome on, guys.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
All right, so before we go into some basic introductions, again, welcome to the live stream. It's funny because, in the description and maybe in some of the social media posts, you probably saw like, oh, it's the last one of the year. And I feel like I failed everybody because I meant to be a lot more festive than I currently am. Like this black sweater, not the most festive thing. To be fair, I was going to wear this short story, right? But if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll notice that there's two bad things about this. This is the Rebel Alliance symbol, so this should be orange. And it's a Star Wars shirt. It's not really a Christmas shirt. But it's as close as I had, so, whatever. With that being said, my little short spiel, I'm just going to pass it off. I'll go with the person you know first. So Pete, go ahead and for everybody, tell us who you are and your experience with Appian, maybe what you do in Appian, and let's try to keep our portion, like what we're going to talk about for later. So don't give any spoiler alerts.
Sounds great. I'm Pete Lewis. I'm a product manager at Appian, and I've worked with Appian for about 10 years, and I'm currently focusing on data fabric. So I've worked on a number of features with how you interact with and access data in Appian, and I've been on a few of these live streams before, so for those that I've seen before, great to talk to you again, and excited to talk about the year in review. So great. Maybe I'll
go ahead, popcorn someone.
Go to someone else. Yeah, absolutely. Esteban, introduce you next.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Esteban. I've been working at Appian for a year and a half. I had the opportunity of implementing projects mainly for healthcare and finance-related institutions in commercial North America. And I've been really interested in making sure that the data that is created and stored in Appian applications provide extra value to our customers. So very happy to be here. Jacob, if you want to go next.
Sounds good. Hi everybody, my name is Jacob Marling. I'm a senior consultant in the customer success department and also work in commercial North America. Esteban and I have actually been coworkers on our last 3 projects for about a year and a half. So a lot of experience together, and I've also worked mostly in the healthcare and financial services industry. And something that I've been into recently is working more with Appian solutions, so more specifically case management. And that's what I'm going to be talking about a little bit later on today. I will pass it off to Alex.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I'm a technology strategy engineer on the CTO team. So what that means is I work for Appian's CTO and co-founder, Michael Beckley, and I do things like the engineering associated with any technology strategy initiatives or research and development type projects. And has Philip gone?
Nope, Philip's the last one.
Philip.
Hi. Yeah, my internet connection, sorry about that. Hi everybody, I'm Philip Khan, and I'm the principal partner solution consultant, and with Appian for just a little over 8 years. And currently I'm focused on AI and generative AI development. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So before we actually jump into, the meat and bones of today's session, I just want to remind everyone for the first time, right, that, we have such great experts here, again, from all different parts of the org. So, if you have questions, comments, excitement, I want to see all of that in the comment section. So if you haven't already, put something in there, go ahead, maybe say hi, happy holidays, whatever. But I'm really excited to see all of your questions in the comments. All right. So let's start off with something maybe a little more broad too, right? So 2024, some people have excitement, about the year in general, and some people are super excited to move into 2025 at this point. But if we look at this from a product perspective, right, we've come a long way, and Appian has introduced a lot of new and interesting features along the way. And, we have also fixed some things maybe that devs wanted to see as well. Pete, I'd love to hear your perspective again because you're PM and you've worked, hand in hand with this stuff. So, what would you say are the big highlights here?
Yeah, I think this has been a really great year, partially because we've had a lot of significant investments that have been delivered this year. So it's especially rewarding for me because I've seen a lot of these investments that we've worked on for many years. So the things that I'm particularly excited about are things like Process HQ, which we released in 24.2 to really allow you to start to get more insight into your processes and dive into how you can improve them. Things like our AI skills that we also released earlier this year. That's something that, for those that have been working with Appian for a while, we've actually made significant investments over the years in AI. For instance, we've had the ability to extract data, from PDF files. We've been working on that initiative for quite a while. And again, it's kind of showed in the culmination this year where we were able to expand our AI offering and really apply a lot of benefits in a lot of ways. So those are the kinds of things that I get really excited about because I know the amount of effort that our teams have been working on to release these over the years, and it's really exciting to see those released.
No, definitely. I do a lot of usability testing too to help, our PMs as they're like trying to release things. And I'm not gonna lie, some of my favorite things are like, when it comes to user design, your user experience, right? And so I've seen a lot of things sneak into each release where, it's little things like being able to save a test case or, drag and drop stuff. I know that's pretty hot topic to a lot of people. Yeah, so great. I think that's pretty good overview. Let's now jump into, again, these 6 different features or innovations, right, that we as a collective here are super excited about. So to kick things off, I would love to hear Jacob's story.
Great. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, so the story that I'm going to talk about today is about Case Management Studio. So just to give a little bit of an introduction to case management for people who might not have worked with it before, Case Management Studio is a suite of applications that were developed by Appian Solutions and are used to rapidly accelerate application development. So Case Management Studio is something that I had never used before the last project that I was on. And to be honest, I was kind of skeptical beforehand because I'd worked mostly with built for purpose or custom development. And I wasn't sure how it was going to be working within the confines of this new solution that I didn't have a lot of experience with. But within about a week or two, I started to really become more of an advocate for it and to see the power, just because of how quickly it was able to enable our team to deliver really big features. So Esteban and I actually were working on this project together, and we were working with a financial services company based in New York to help them centralize and standardize their quarterly reporting approval process and their investor requests. So Case Management Studio was a perfect fit for that. And one of the huge lifts that I saw right out of the box with Case Management Studio was the ability to take pieces of the solution that had been developed internally by the Appian team and use the ones that worked the best for us and be able to customize in other areas where the customer had more unique or specific requirements. So some of the general areas that were super valuable to us and our team were the tasking that comes out of the box with case management. So previously at another customer before this, we had developed a completely custom tasking solution with a ton of custom tasking behaviors, a library, the ability to add ad hoc tasks. And then I go to Case Management Studio and it's all been done there already for me. So that probably saved us weeks of development time. And we were able to work with the customer, figure out what their process was, and then show that to them in the system almost immediately. So the power of that was pretty significant. Another feature that I thought is really great in Case Management Studio is the document management. This is something that we do on really almost every project that I've been a part of. For the main record that you have in the system, you want to upload documents, edit them, track them as a part of the main case. And that comes out of the box and is handled really well with a great UI by Case Management Studio. And something that's also pretty powerful about case management, especially for our customer, was they're a small group. They don't have a big IT shop. So they wanted to be able to empower their end users and their business folks to be able to update the cases and update the workflows after we had rolled off of the project. And Case Management Studio has that built in. So along the way, as we were developing, we were also making sure that we're empowering our end users to be able to make changes and to adjust after we roll off as their business needs changed.
And Jacob, I'm curious what they thought about that, right? I know it's kind of a new concept for a lot of end users to be able to make changes themselves. Were they a little apprehensive to be able to do that, or were they excited?
No, they were definitely excited because they really wanted the ability to take action on their cases. And they knew that if we develop something now and it's so static, that they are changing month to month. The people in the organization change, the steps in their processes change. So that flexibility and the ability to really dynamically adjust their cases was really important and something that was exciting for them. And another great thing too about case management is, so you set the workflow for the case types in Studio, and then those cases get created. But with certain cases, there's always edge cases and unique situations. So end users in production, not even technical users, might be able to and have been able to just adjust the workflow simply. So maybe for this specific case, they didn't need to complete a review task. So I was able to work with the end user in production to just pop that task out of the workflow for that case, and then they were able to continue on with their day. And the awesome thing about that too is Case Management Studio is built with Process HQ in mind. So when we then went to go configure Process HQ, and Esteban's going to talk more about that later, we were able to see that pretty seamlessly, that interaction where they skipped the review and they're able to review what's actually happening based on what they intended to happen with the workflow designed in the case. So that was pretty
really cool.
Yeah. Another huge lift of case management. I could go on and on about this, so stop me if I'm doing too much. But there's a ton of add-ons that are really useful. So you can add on AI document summaries, AI comment summaries, email triage, dynamic.
You're talking about the modules, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's modules that can be added on additional to the Case Management Studio base application. And the one that was super impactful for us was the email triage, which allowed us to essentially recreate an Outlook or Gmail feel in Appian and give users the ability to create cases directly from that incoming email or incoming requests that they were receiving from their investors.
Yeah, I remember playing with that when I was getting ready for like the release notes, and I thought it was really cool. And obviously later we have Alex who's going to talk about similar things where like people like what they're familiar with, right? And so kind of mocking some of that stuff. So that's really cool to hear. I also, just to like recap, because you talked about so many different like rich things. I think one of the things that devs may be apprehensive about is when like a company like Appian releases like a big product that's new and like it's dynamic and like it shows like it could have so much value, but then like rolling up to it and actually using it, it's like I'm still familiar with what I know, but hearing such an impactful story like what you've said, where you saved weeks of development time.
Definitely.
And just to highlight, right, you said like you don't need to use the whole package as is. You can pick the parts that you like the tasking or things that work, and then build what you need from there. And I think that is a great like segue for people to start using CMS and whatnot.
Definitely. And I mean, it's built with the intention of being customized. Appian knew when they were developing it that they weren't going to be able to cover all possible use cases. So it's it's intended to be customized. I mean, even within those functionalities, so within tasking, there's like 3 task types or task behaviors that come out of the box, but then we added 14 additional ones for integrations, for being able to send emails from tasks. So like even within those features, it's intended that you expand on that. That's the expectation. And you're able to plug really easily into the case management framework to do that.
Nice. And I like Esteban, you're just nodding like, yeah, we did that. Yeah. Well, you did sneak peek into Esteban's like talk. You know, we're going to transition from CMS to Process HQ. You know, the other like big thing that was released this year, like Pete said earlier. But yeah, I love that impactful story, especially from like the dev perspective. So thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so curious. Yeah, tell me all about your Process HQ experience.
Yeah, for sure. So as Jacob was saying, we were working alongside in this project for a financial institution in New York. And on top of all of the case management and the process management that was done on the application, our end users wanted some interesting reporting capabilities. Appian is very capable in terms of providing reports and dashboards for day-to-day and operational questions that a user may have, but Process HQ, which is one of our newest offerings, gives you an extra layer of reporting capability. So not only you can see operational information, but you can see how your processes are working on across the board in the application, and it's a really powerful tool. So in a day's worth of effort, we were able to build 20 individual report objects spread across 3 different dashboards. We focus on 3 record types that were central for the application, which were cases or requests, tasks, and comments. So this allowed business users and specifically people in the managerial positions to have an accessible place to overview how users were implementing and finishing their request with that extra layer of information, right? It's a process mining tool and a reporting tool that allows you to build so much things. And something that I really liked about Process HQ was that it allows business users and devs to work on it and get insights and get information, which is something really impactful, especially when your client is probably not the largest IT company or tech-related company. These type of tools that Appian offers are really powerful. And just to give a couple of figures, right now we have insights of about 100 cases, more than 2,000 tasks, and around 250 comments. I have to make a note. The application has only been live for a couple of weeks. So the more data we have in the system, the more powerful Process HQ will become, and it will add more value to all organizations. So I just wanted to note that. On top of all of these reports or traditional reports, we also worked on Process Insights, which basically gives you a magnifying lens and allows you to view very specific details about your processes, like which tasks are taking longer, or is there like a specific pattern of attributes that are taking place in cases that are taking the longest. Those type of questions are the ones that you as a user, either a technical user or a business user, you are capable of understanding and answering those questions. So yeah, it was really interesting to work with Process HQ in combination with case management, because that shows that Appian's tools that we offer can work alongside pretty well, and that's what you want at the end of the day in a technological project, right? You want to have the best tools at your disposal, and this was a perfect case. Something else that I would like to add was security. So we know nowadays security for data is really important, and Process HQ does not ignore that need. So you're capable of configuring security rules and configuring security related issues, so your data is safe. So you have like the best of many worlds, which is amazing to have.
Yeah, I'm curious, did you have to do any additional setup to start using things in Process HQ? Like, did you have to do more configuration, or was it mostly working given the existing work you had with your data fabric?
So having case management databases help a lot in terms of, let's say, initial configuration. For instance, for the processing side segment, we didn't have to configure specific end and start dates because case management already does that for you. But obviously, if you want to enrich the data that you have in processing sites and in your data fabric reports, it's really interesting to work with categorical and descriptive attributes that enrich the insights that you can get from any process or any report. So I would say if you follow your case management standard procedures and configuration, you should have a really good time working with Process HQ.
Yeah,
That's
just
great.
to chime in there too, one thing that was like really powerful for them with Process HQ was the ability for us to integrate their Salesforce data with the cases that they were creating. So they would be associating contacts from Salesforce with those cases. And then we were able to create attributes in Process HQ about those people from Salesforce to be able to say like what type of investor they were, the amount of commitment to funds that the company offered. And that was just something that they had never had before, and Appian enabled them to do that. So that was pretty cool.
That does sound cool. And just to kind of go between you two now, since I've got you, back to back, with case management, we talked a little bit about obviously this is framed in the dev perspective, and I am curious to know what was it like as a dev for either of you, but some of the strengths of both case management and Process HQ are the fact that we have these different roles, which we did talk about a little bit with Jacob. But Esteban, I'd love to hear more from you. I know from my experience with Process HQ, obviously you have your devs, which you've kind of outlined what you did, but if you want to go clarify how different that is from maybe the other roles that we have within Process HQ for your business users.
Yeah, sure. So let's say you're a business user that wants to create an ad hoc report because your manager or your boss asked for it. In traditional developing, you would require a lot of technical knowledge to actually be able to include that report in your Appian application. But with Process HQ, I'm not gonna say it's the easiest because obviously you require some knowledge of your data. But if you have the basic knowledge of your data, you will easily be able to configure any type of report. I don't know, you want to see trends about how much time your processes are taking, or as Jacob was saying, you want to know if there is a correlation between process time and investments from those investors or from different funds. So yeah, I would say it's easy for business users to work with Process HQ. Pretty similar with Process Insights. Actually, we were having a call this week with some managerial people on the client side, and we were showing them the different offerings and different tools that Process HQ offer, and they were really interested, and they are committed to start looking at it and gaining a lot of value without having that much technical knowledge, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know, again, from my personal experience, that we have data governors, data stewards, and obviously you as devs and whatnot. But one great thing about those more business side roles is that they have power over that security, like you said, right? That's what's one of the main functionalities between data governors and data stewards, so that the right data ends up in the right hands, in the right reports, etc., which is phenomenal. That's what we want, right? You like you said, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it offers great things. And if I may add something, I think it's also a very good way in which you can promote ownership of the application in business users, because they are actually using the application and they are building their own reports and their own processes. So that also adds a layer of ownership and sentiment for the application, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say from the product side, this has been part of the investment within Process HQ and CMS, Case Management Studio, that we really do want to empower more types of users, right? And I know sometimes when developers hear that kind of thing, they get nervous, well, are my users going to be doing things that I used to do, or things like that? But really, our goal with it is not necessarily to replace developers. It's actually to have developers focus on the more useful activities, right? Especially for something like creating a report. I can't tell you the number of times I've talked to a developer that will say, I had to spend an extra, day today just working on generating some, grid or some export that a user needed so that they could use it in another tool. The great thing now is that the users can do that themselves. And now the developer can continue to focus on adding more complex features. So it's definitely a win-win for both. And it really gets more users interacting and using Appian in new ways, which we're really excited about.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah. Speaking of like investments and whatnot, one thing that I don't know if you highlighted it, but Jacob did in that like you can add modules to case management. Similarly to that in Process HQ, there are different aspects that we can interact with. One of the hot topics of the year, AI, right? And so I don't know how much you may have played with that in your story, but there's AI Copilot. There's a bunch of different little tools that again are supposed to speed things up for both. If maybe you're if dev, maybe if you're one of those business users.
Definitely. For our specific use case, we didn't have the chance, but actually we included AI in other parts of the application. And yeah, I agree with you. It's really powerful. It provides you value. And those are the type of things that probably dev users can invest their time instead of, I don't know, creating a report or a grid. So it's a balance of devs providing value, but also business users providing value, which is great.
Definitely. And I love the reporting story. Like if you've been at Appian for many years, which I know many of our viewers have been, you've seen like what state the product has come from in terms of creating charts and reports to, where it is today. And so awesome. Yes, chess memes A plus Kate Management Studio firework. Love that comment. I think this is a good transition time though. Our next topic actually really relates with AI. We're going to have Philip on next, who's going to talk about how to maybe extend some of the AI capabilities that we have. So Philip, I'll pass it off to you.
All right, thanks. So what I'm showing today is two cool AI demos I built. The first one, the idea is I built a chatbot. So to enable you to understanding anything about the image you uploaded. So let's take a look. So what I'm going to do is I'm uploading two images, submit it, and then it come back in a chatbot format, which we are familiar with. So what I'm uploading is two images I took when I traveled to London this year. So one is that the subway that they call Tube, the Tube subway map. The second one is the fare. They have zone 1 to zone 8, and what's the fare between them. So what I'm going to do is my question is, let me see. Okay, let me copy paste my question. Give me a second. Okay, and one interested is please find the cheapest route from Heathrow Airport to the Tottenham Court Road station during the daily peak hours. Now I submit. So what happened is at the back end is the chatbot is powered by a large language model, is powered from AWS Anthropic Cloud 3.5 Sonnet, LLM, and it analyzes those two images, and it will come back as the cheapest fare is 15 pounds and 60 pennies, and the route is advised a Piccadilly line, dark blue, directly from Heathrow Tottenham local. And so it not only it analyzed it, it's understanding the contents of the image you uploaded and understanding your question perfectly well and analyze processing it and come back with the exact knowledge you're asking for. So that is very, very powerful. So that is just show you the ability they call what we call today is called multi-model support, which means not only just text is able to understand processing, but beyond the text, so we can understanding images, right? Any PNG, JPEG, it able to understand. It just immediately open more the door for accepting more use cases for our broader Appian community.
That's really cool.
So that's the first one. Really cool. Yeah. The second one I want to show you, since I mentioned the multimodal, so why not, let's say, what about audio video? So right now, let me uploading a audio which is in MP3 format, the plugin. And what I'm interested in, I want to the machine learning say, please transcribe my audio for me. So it's submit a job, it's processing backend by a AWS machine learning service called Transcribe. And let's refresh it. And you see that the one I running, I think early this morning. But let's give a couple seconds. We should see another one come up called transcribe result. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's a delay. Okay, here comes. So once I click it, and there it is. So it's a transcribe. It gives you exactly what come back from the audio feed, audio file in MP3, but also there's a plugin. You can play it. So that's the demo I prepared. So one is for multimodal support for the chatbot, understanding your image. The second one is using the existing machine learning service from AWS, and I package it up. Both apps I package up as a reference app, and you can find from our Appian community. One is called Image Understanding with AWS Bedrock. The second one is called AWS Document Understanding Reference App. So that's it.
No, they're really great. And I honestly wish I had that first one when I was in London 2 weeks ago for Appian Europe. But really cool stuff. And
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know Philip, he's kind of like a guru of plugins. You know, we have like 2 here right now for this live stream, but we did actually host him for another video on YouTube. We'll put that link in the chat as well if you want to learn more about, you know, some of the stuff that he's been doing. But yeah, I love these. And, you know, again, AI skills this year have been super hot. There's so many people learning how to, you know, use the prompt builder, right? Or the extraction tools. And so your plugins here are, I guess, are phenomenal examples of, you know, how we can take, you know, what we have in Appian and then, yeah, exactly, open up to more use cases. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the gallery? Anyone else?
We'll say
If someone at Appian saying, "Woohoo, plugin gurus!" Yes.
yeah. Well, my team produces a lot of plugins, and Philip is always really quick to try them out and get them into customers' hands. So yeah, he is plugin guru for sure.
Yeah. So you know, if you haven't tried Philip's plugins, please, yeah, go ahead and find those. You know, well, this is a great transition into kind of your segment, Alex, which again is about another plugin, but there is like, spoiler alert, the try now feature, right? And I'm not gonna steal all of your thunder, Alex. So I'll let you kind of talk about what you're excited about.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. So I'm here to talk about the Grid Plus component plugin. So that's an editable grid component that's available on the app market. And as Kate mentioned, it is available to try through a pre-configured demo available through the Try Now button, which is something that Kate's team has set up. It's a super cool new feature for Appian community. So yeah, I really encourage you to try that out. That should be in the comments section. The link to it, I believe. If not, it's on the app market listing for Grid Plus. So yeah, Pete is actually going to help me demo this, but basically to introduce you to Grid Plus, it is an editable grid component plugin that provides an Excel-like interface where you can extend the features of Data Fabric. What I mean by this is you can query like up to 5,000 records at a time, be able to edit, delete, create records all within the same interface. So there are a ton of really great features in this, especially ones that have been in high demand from lots of customers, like drag and drop columns, range selection of cells, copy and paste, all that good stuff. And it's all available through this component. To demo some of these features, we're going to look at, and is the demo up? I can't see it.
It will be in a second.
Please share.
Oh, and I'll take this pause because I've been failing at my job. Please put comments in the chat. Okay, questions too. Again, we have all these experts. We have these plugin gurus. We have people who've implemented these big features. Okay, I see one. We'll answer that probably after Alex's spiel. But yes, please put all of your thoughts and comments in the chat.
Okay, yeah. So to get a kind of overview of the features that Grid Plus offers, we're going to walk through a kind of data lifecycle. So we're going to watch as Pete takes data from Excel. It's a downloaded Excel sheet, uploads it into Appian. We can preview it in Appian and then write it to records. So yeah, Pete is uploading, and we can see here that we have some data that's highlighted. Those are custom validations that are set on the back end. So maybe we don't want the title cells to be null. We can go ahead and delete that, or we have duplicate data at the top. We can delete that. And Pete is...
I'll remove that row, for instance.
Yeah.
And can take out this one as well with the validation there.
Yes. And so that reality cell is highlighted because reality doesn't seem to be within the optional or within the options for that dropdown. So we can go in and change that through a dropdown selection. And once we've done that, we can scroll down and press submit. And now what you'll see is kind of a mock-up of an approval workflow. So basically, I've isolated the records that will update, which could potentially override existing values. Maybe you want to give it some special attention and review. What would typically happen in an application is this review would be kind of sent to some sort of admin. But obviously, for the example, we're just keeping it all on one site. So let's say we're the admin now. We can look through this and we say, okay, yeah, this data looks right. I'm meaning to overwrite these values. So we say approve changes for both, and it'll pop up with a little dialogue. So that quickly, you can see like almost immediately, these values are written to Data Fabric, and you can go ahead and press that other approve.
Okay.
So that quickly, we have 200 records written to Data Fabric, and this is possible because we're using the typical ABANG write records that you would normally use. So that means we get the security, the speed that's inherent with Appian's native functionality. So it's actually really powerful. If we go to the view data page, we can see all of this really great data. If you hit Command and the down key, the same keyboard shortcuts you use in Excel, you can like click into a cell and hit Command down. Just like scroll to the bottom, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I want to show how much data is in here. And like I said earlier, we can show 5,000 records is the current observed limit, but you know, it's a super powerful tool of showing tons of data at once. And this data is all flexibly presented, and you can edit it in cell. You can, let's say we wanted to change how, what data is next to each other. We could, let's say we want to look at ratings, production cost next to title. So one way that we could do that is by freezing the columns and having them be next to each other as we scroll. Or we can also do things like drag and drop columns.
Gotta love drag and drop.
Yeah, people go crazy for drag and drop. So we have those super cool features. Let's say we only want to look at things within a certain genre. We could go to that drop-down menu and select the, yeah, exactly. Select something like comedy. And
Clearly,
then
Pete is well versed with Excel.
Or maybe it's just really
It's so easy.
cool.
Or yeah, it's easy.
So yeah, that quickly. And then if we click on one of the, let's say we click on the title, like the word title, that will sort all of these items. Like, do you see how fast that is? I don't know if it's showing up on the stream, but
I love the enthusiasm though. Alex, I'm gonna pause you. We do have a question. I'm gonna take the second question from Chess Memes since that's Alex's question. It says, if I have an Excel sheet with a column having drop-down values, how would this parse? And will we require any more configs for this to happen?
So that's a really great question. There's pretty simple configuration happening on the back end for this. I have created a bunch of function plugins to assist in that configuration. So the same way that in Appian, as you're writing in Sail, you get the descriptions of each parameter in the Sail editor. So that will still be there, and you can use the functions I've created, like drop-down call config is what you would use in this instance. And that's where you could set a list of sources, and that would be the options that are available for the dropdown. So I believe the export would be a typical, it would just look like a string when it comes from Excel, but the grid would interpret it as a dropdown.
Thank you, Chess Memes. Keep them rolling, everyone. Keep
Yeah.
those questions coming.
Love the questions.
Well, I'm also curious, Alex, I know that this is a new way to be able to edit data. I'm curious, if you're a low-code developer, how should they think about using this versus using the existing editable grid? Because this offers a lot of additional properties. So I know that people will be wondering, how do I make that decision in my own applications?
Yeah, great question. So I think there's actually some guidance on this in the documentation available in that app market listing that I was talking about before. I have a little section on recommended use cases. But to reinforce that, I think some of the best use cases for this would be showing large quantities of data, especially if the data is kind of a primitive type like text or numbers, which I feel like is quite common, especially in maybe regulatory or financial services use cases. So it's great for that if you just want lots of data presented at once. There's very minimal lag as the data scales. And it's also just, I would say, very flexible. So if you want to really empower your end users to be able to contribute to the data fabric, then it's a great use case. That's actually the last thing that I wanted to show. We could go ahead and demo that. So if you do a control click in the, like on any cell, really, you can say add new row when that like context menu pops up. Insert row above.
Insert row below. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so through doing this, you can type in data, you can copy and paste, you can even do the like corner drag that you're used to doing in Excel probably.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I love Excel. So every time you give this demo, I'm like, ooh, what does it do?
Yeah,
That's really cool.
All that good stuff. You can even do Command Z if you want to undo this, and all the changes will be registered. So yeah, it's the closest thing we have to putting Excel in Appian, I would say. And yeah, so the other super cool thing about kind of this being an extension of Data Fabric is if we were to type in values right there, the end user doesn't know anything about a primary key. They don't need to if it's a typical format like a number. So right now we could type in a title and press submit changes at the bottom, and it would create a new record for us of that name and handle all the default values. And it's nearly instantaneous, which is the super cool thing.
Love that.
Nice.
Yeah. And then final portion of that demo was pressing the download report. You don't actually have to show it, but if you press download report, you would get this filtered, sorted, and rearranged version of your data to then put elsewhere or put back into Appian. I don't know. So yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah, good call out. Any more questions?
And
Well, I
it's
just want to say that that looks so great, and I would love to use that and can't wait to use it on my next project. But I do have a question. I'm not sure if you mentioned this. Is it possible to have that grid just in read-only? Because I know there's some situations where customers want to like freeze certain column headers, and I think that'd be really useful.
That's
even
a
if
great
it's not
call out.
updating the data.
Yeah, so there are column level configurations to make it read-only, and there is a read-only variable for the entire grid. And you can even set that to something like a sale expression. So let's say you want people of a certain group to see this as read-only, you could configure that in the sale. Mhm.
Yeah, this is so cool. I can't wait to use this.
Great.
That's a
I'm
good
so
question
glad.
too. Awesome. Okay, well, we'll kind of let people simmer on that and consider any more questions they have. In the meantime, I am going to go back to Chess Meme's first question, which I think is either Philip or Pete, or maybe a combination of the two. But the question says, "Is Appian susceptible to prompt injection, just like ChatGPT and other models?" And maybe you can start with, what is prompt injection? Because I'm actually not familiar with what that is.
I don't know, Philip, if you want to take that, or
I'm not sure that what that question you're asking for.
so I will say I'm not an expert in AI, but my understanding of prompt injection is that it's a scenario when you may ask for something that the chatbot or whatever system you're trying to interact with is not expecting to receive, right? Like you're asking it a question about internal information or information that shouldn't be exposed to users. If you guys have heard of like SQL injection, that's a similar kind of attack where you may try to write SQL that tries to capture information from internal systems. We do have a lot of work that our teams have done to ensure that we apply the correct security to your data. So there's both information that we have provided within the prompts themselves to prevent access, but the great thing is also that we have security in other ways in Appian as well, right? Like if you think about the way that we set up our data fabric, a lot of the ways that we interact with, through chatbots are actually creating queries against our data fabric. And you can set the security directly within the data fabric itself. So that ensures that it applies an additional layer of security and that you wouldn't be able to access information that your user account should not be able to see. So there definitely are some, security and considerations that we have made to ensure that, the right people have access to the right data.
Great. Thanks, Pete. I think that answers it pretty well. If Philip wants to chime in later, he can. But while you're still talking, Pete, I know that we left the sixth innovation to you. So I'll let you take it away with what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to tell you guys up front, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I'm going to talk about two things. Honestly, it was just very hard to think about only one thing when I look back at a lot of the things that we've been doing over the last year. And part of the way that I wanted to talk about it is to give you guys a little bit of insight into how we think about the product as product managers and how that helps us decide what things we're going to focus on and the way that we prioritize things. So I will, just to give you a sense of a lot of the ways that we plan for features and investments within Appian, we want to plan for some big investments, some things that are going to take quite a long time to really come to fruition. That's really how we get big changes, big benefits to the platform, is that we really look at significant investments over time. And really, to me, one of the most exciting of those is autoscale. And I will say up front, I am not a product manager that has worked directly on autoscale. I've worked with some of the other product managers that have. But part of the reason I get really excited about it is that I see where autoscale is now, and I can compare that to where the part of the product I work on, Data Fabric, was about 4 or 5 years ago. And really the key is that when we first released Data Fabric, we started with fairly simple capabilities. For those that were working with Appian maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you might remember that our first release with Data Fabric or synced records, we didn't have things like record relationships or record level security or a lot of the other capabilities that you're used to working with now. But we had a plan at the point, and that was the point where we really had to establish the foundation that we could then build on top of to really make it effective going forward. And part of the reason that I'm the most excited about Autoscale is that I see that exact point where we are right now, right? It's the beginning of Autoscale. We still have significant investments that we're going to make it better over time, but we have the vision and we have that initial investment that's really going to get us moving. So I would really recommend it. If you have not tried it, it's definitely worth checking out. I can just show briefly, and probably a lot of you all are fairly familiar with this or have seen demos or things like that. But part of what I want to highlight is that our focus really with Autoscale was to try and make it as native a part of the platform as possible, right? Y'all are used to dealing with processes. Autoscale is going to introduce the ability to have much higher throughput, and we wanted to make it really seamless to be able to work with. So you'll notice here that I have 2 different processes. One of these is the traditional process model. This one's an Autoscale. So you can see it's got the little icon here, might be a little small, but really we want to make sure it's a seamless connection between the 2 processes, and it makes it so that the existing knowledge that you have about the platform can apply to this new technology as well. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm most excited about, within the last year.
No, I agree. And if I can just interject here for a second. So obviously I was in Europe 2 weeks ago and I got to hear so much on Autoscale, including, some of the keynote presentations, as well as I heard from, Alice in Montemayor and, from Aviva, a customer of ours. So if you haven't already, and I need to send the link to my person so that we can get the link in the chat, but watch the Appian Europe recordings, because so many people at that event asked great questions, and there's just a lot of rich content in a lot of those videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I said I was going to cheat a little bit, and I do want to introduce 2 things. So like I mentioned, a large portion of our investments are on significant areas that we really want to expand within Appian. But the other thing that we work on as product managers is we also look for ways that there are existing parts of the platform that we could improve. And whether it's providing improvements to developer quality of life or providing quick benefits to users or things like that, we're constantly looking for other kinds of ways that we can improve things, even if it isn't part of a longer term investment. And one thing that I really want to showcase in this example is something that we've added in 24.4, which is the ability to export something different than what is displayed on grids. So I know Alex just showed you an example of being able to export, but I also wanted to quickly showcase just a brief example of something that we've actually gotten a lot of requests for over the years. So let me just open up my site that's got this. You can see here I've got a pretty basic grid. I've got things like a display name, a column for active, and an address. One of the things that we've heard from developers for a long time is that end users often want a way of displaying something different in their export than what's shown in the grid. So what we did is we added this capability where now you can decide at a column level what information is going to be exported and not exported. So I'm going to do a quick export and just show you the data. And what you might have noticed, let me pull this up. Sorry about that. Here's the grid. And just to compare this, I've got a customer ID column here that if I go back to my column, you'll note, or my grid, you'll notice it doesn't exist here, right? So I've been able to alter the export with relevant information that may be more important for this specific export. So again, this is an area that we've actually had a lot of capabilities of the grid that have existed for quite a while, but we've still been looking for tactical improvements for how we can continue to make it better. And I think to me as a product manager, these are kind of the two big areas that I look to make an impact, right? Looking for larger investments and looking for these tactical improvements. So when I look in the year in review, it's really exciting to see both of those kinds of investments come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. I do see that there is a question in the comments. We're running low on time, but I think we can cover it. So let's get that up on screen. It's from Chess Memes again. Can we expect an AI model which can convert directly the Figma design to sale code to faster go-to-market, better UIs? And if you guys are already cooking, let us know. Any insight into that, Pete? I know that's not like your market necessarily, but.
And that's one of my personal.
Philip,
Where I
you
just
might be
listened.
muted.
Oh, am I muted?
Philip.
Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me now? Good. I think that's one
If
of
we can't get an
the.
answer to you now, then we can just do it after the fact as well. But we will get an answer to you, I promise.
Can you hear me now?
All right, then I'm just going to wrap us up
Yes.
because, we're getting
Okay.
close to the hour. So, yeah, let's just go back to a normal live stream. And let me thank you all for, sticking with us throughout 2024. Again, this was our last live stream of the year, but you bet we're going to be right back in January, on January 16th, with our second UX design lab, which is focusing on colors. Submissions for that are due the 8th, so that's 8 days before the actual live stream. I'm very excited to see these. I won't be on the live stream, but my esteemed colleagues will be. Okay, so please get your stuff in for that. We're going to put the link in the chat for submitting that interface. And yeah, please like if you enjoyed this. Subscribe to our channel. I'll sneak in one more link too. For AutoScale, I mentioned Alison Montemayor earlier. We also released an AutoScale overview video recently on our channel. So go check that out as well. Great, yeah. Thank you all my guests, my 5 guests. This was a very hearty live stream, but we made it. Thank you all. And any last comments from you guys? No.
I think it's been a great 2024, and I can tell you that we're making a ton of investments for 2025, and I'm even more excited for 2025. So.
Same here.
Yeah, and like Jacob said earlier, I'm excited to see how different things are implemented in projects. So I hope this has been useful for you. I hope you are excited for the features that we talked about. And yeah, happy holidays, everyone. And I hope to see you in the new year.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Happy holidays. Bye, everybody.